Hey there, welcome to Farmcraft. I'm John, and I've got some work to do on some drainage around the farm. Some things that I've been putting off, and I really can't put them off any longer because they keep getting worse. So we're at the first one here. This is a creek crossing between two of my fields. And for you farmers out there, yes, I'm aware broom straw means poor field fertility, and I'm working on that. I have a plan. This is a 2-foot pipe here. I've never seen so much silt come down this creek. It has completely plugged the pipe, and there's a lot of rock on this crossing, but there's also a lot of dirt. Obviously, a lot of the dirt has been washed away, unfortunately, and I got to get that pipe opened up. Now, one thing when you're dealing with a creek crossing like this, from experience, I've learned a lesson kind of the hard way. When you're trying to stop from getting your crossing washed out, the creek is running this way, and my instinct was to put a barrier there and try to prevent the creek from being able to come over and, you know, kind of hold it back. Well, you're not going to hold it back. The pipe's going to clog. It's going to top that at some point. And as soon as it gets over your barrier of rocks or concrete or whatever you've put, now the water's going to be running, and it's going to wash away all your fines, you know, dirt, clay, whatever it is that you've got here, even gravel, it'll wash away. Having done that a couple of times and then scratched my head and realized, duh, you put the rocks on the downhill side or the downstream side, so that even if this gets topped, the water's still relatively slow until it hits that rock, which catches a lot of your sediment, and then it can spill down the rock wall. See, that's just solid rock there, and it doesn't completely wash out your crossing. The only reason there's still dirt here is because those rocks are there, because obviously this thing this thing really came up. We had some really hard rains recently, and no, the pond is not full yet. We're not going to talk about that right now. So it's really rocky over here, and this post has never been real solid, but the water coming over really washed it down. So let me stand it back up here. And maybe I can push it down in a little bit just so it'll stay upright. Let me give it a push. Yep, no, that's perfect. Just getting this collection of leaves and sticks and putting them downstream of the fence so they don't clog it again and push that post over again. And these limbs are in my way. That was hard. Man, I do like my excavator. There's a water line that crosses this creek. I think it's a little bit further to the right as you're looking at it now, but I don't know exactly where it is, so I can't go too crazy with digging real deep. First, I'm just trying to get the pipe flowing again without destroying it. Is not warm. All right, until next time. It's the first time I've ever had to come down here with the excavator to clear that. Frequently I'll be driving by or walking by and I can just take a minute and pull some sticks out and it'll be halfway clogged but not totally plugged. That's been in there for probably 15 years and that's the first time I've ever seen it totally clogged. So yeah, a bigger pipe would help that, but it's not worth the expense. Those pipes are expensive. that was a fairly small job right there. We've got 2 more to do. I'm gonna have to track back in the woods along some trails. There's another crossing pipe. It's just a small stream, but it keeps washing out. I'll see if I can fix that. And then we're gonna get to the big one. There is a logging road back there and another crossing through a pretty deep bottom where the loggers put in a road, and that has washed out a lot, and I'm gonna have to do a fair amount of work on that. So let's get to it. This right here constantly washes out. It's just a wash, it's not a constant running creek. But whenever the pipe, it was never that deep, and whenever it gets water on top of it, it floats up out, and I come down here and the pipe's just laying there like you just saw it. I just need to dig the pipe deeper, a little bit steeper. I do have some rocks in here, so I'm going to kind of clear that area a little bit and get some rocks to work with. Get that pipe down in there and some good rocks on top of it so that it can't float up out. And I think that'll stay put. So this pipe is a little too short. It was a piece of Schedule 40 PVC left over from my pond. I think it's 16 inches. And I wanted to put it to use, so I put it down here. I'm trying to maximize the width of the crossing using these rocks, and I struggle a little bit getting them placed the way I want them. I need to get some more rocks on this downstream area, but I don't have any more rocks around here to work with right now. Alright, I think once that dries out, I think that'll be fine. I got this all cased in with rock pretty well, and I don't think that pipe's going to be floating anymore. And it's kind of narrow, but all I ever take across this is the farm cart. I wish the pipe was a little bit longer. I have some big rocks laying around. Maybe at some point I'll bring some big rocks down here to kind of frame around that and essentially extend that out a little bit. I think that's going to work.
I don't know what we're going to do with you.
While I'm here, I'm going to fix this as well. This is a creek that we just crossed, but it's gotten clogged up because there's an old barbed wire fence here. The fence isn't in use anymore, so I'm not really worried about that. I just want the creek to be able to drain through here without backing up. No, I'm not leaving that T-post there. We can straighten this out on the shop press and put it back to use. Okay, so this is the biggest of the jobs that I need to do. So this used to be full width. Big, trucks could go down this. And you can see the pipe got blocked and it's been washing over and half of the dirt is just gone. It's down the creek, unfortunately. So what I want to do is, first of all, get the pipe unblocked if I can. And hopefully it'll still be usable. And then kind of clear everything out. There are some piles of dirt over there with no significant trees on them. And I could get some dirt from that and then kind of grade everything out. It doesn't have to be this final height, so I can spread this a little wider. But I just need to get this so that it'll drain. So let's see if I can get the pipe exposed and unclogged. I don't necessarily have to take it out of there, so I'm going to kind of carefully start working on the upper end here and see what I can figure out. I start out digging slow, looking for when the excavator contacts something, it's probably going to be the pipe, trying not to bend it too much. Here I'm definitely pulling on it a little bit. Turns out the top is already bent up and basically destroyed, so I need to get this pipe exposed. Maybe I can cut it off and it would still be usable. Nope, it's junk. Totally rusted out. Here you can see how damaged the upper end of this pipe was. I really didn't do a whole lot to that with the excavator today. I was thinking if the pipe was still good I could cut it off, but obviously that was not going to happen. It's surprisingly solid given how see-through it is. So I need a new pipe. That's not going anywhere. That ain't gonna work. This is a double wall ABS pipe. These things are pretty heavy built and they last a really long time, but they're not cheap. We're going through planted loblolly pines. We also farm trees. These will be used for paper and lumber, and they're about 30 years old now. They'll be clear cut in the next 5 years or so and then replanted. If you're wondering, there's a wide end and a narrow end so that you can hook the pipes together. So if you got another pipe, the wide end would go over that, and you would want that on the downhill slope so that water flows into the second pipe, if that makes any sense. The chances of me ever extending this pipe are about nil, but I still figure you ought to install it that way just in case. If I ever wanted to go further up the hill or further down, I can just add another pipe. Since so much soil had eroded away from the crossing, I was not sure where I was going to get the dirt to fill it back in. I was actually thinking I was going to have to take dirt from the road bed and, just skim a few inches off to fill in the bottom where I didn't have enough dirt. I knew there was a pile of dirt here over to the side, and that was clearly made when they put in this pipe. I assumed they took a dozer and just pushed the topsoil off to make this pile. But it turns out the pile is a good subsoil. It's mostly clay and rock and, good fill. You don't want to use topsoil in something like this because it's going to get wet and soggy, and you try to drive a truck over it, you're just going to sink in. You need subsoil, something that can carry some weight. So I was surprised and trying to figure out why this was a pile of good subsoil. And I think what happened is when they put in the original pipe, they came down into this bottom and everything was muddy. So even though it was all eroded, it wasn't topsoil, they still had to push it off just because it was wet and mucky. So they pushed it over to the side here. Well, now it's dried out and it's perfectly usable. So yeah, that was a nice little bonus surprise for me. I was thinking I was going to have to work a lot harder to get dirt to fill it in, but it was sitting right there for me. Now you notice that I don't have many big rocks to work with here, or any big rocks really. And this would really benefit from putting rocks on the downstream side like we talked about with the first job that I did. But that creek is a much bigger creek that has a lot more water flow through it, especially when it rains. This is more just a wash. In fact, in the summer this isn't even flowing. So this is not going to be as prone to washing out nearly as much as that other one. That said, when I do get a chance to bring some rock in here and put it on the downstream side, I will. But it's so muddy right now that I'd have to bring my dump truck, and with where this is, it would be a nightmare trying to get rock to this thing right now. That'll have to wait for summer and some dry weather. leak? Looks like it's just a fitted. Yep, just loose. Can't get through a video without having to fix something. Although, I can't really complain about this. One nice thing about doing stuff like this on the farm, it just doesn't have to look perfect. Nature will grow up, and this will just turn into a scrubby mess again, which is fine, and just makes it easier not having to groom it and make it perfect like somebody's yard. All right, well, that was very nice that I found good subsoil over there to use, because I certainly needed extra to get this filled back in, and that went really well. That pipe should outlive me. Now, there's a possibility it'll clog and this thing will wash out again, but that pipe, the old one was 18 inches, that's 2 feet. So I went bigger, less likely to clog. I just took my little farm cart and went back and forth on it and smoothed it out a little bit more. I think it looks really good. Well, we had a pretty good rain, and you can see still puddled on top. And some deer tracks. Everything looks good. Let me get some grass on this. This is fescue. All right. We'll check back in a little while, I guess. I also planted grass on the second crossing we worked on. You can see me digging out right here caused it all to erode there. Pretty interesting. Good hard rain last night. Back to the second crossing we worked on in this video, and this is about a month after planting grass. Remember in the skid steer video when I was getting rocks? Well, this is what they were for. Everything's so muddy, I'm trying to limit the traffic that I put on it, so I'm doing most of this by hand. I'm trying to set the rocks up in a way that will actually basically extend the pipe out a little bit and make the crossing a little bit wider. This will also protect it from erosion in the future. It's been raining for several hours, but not terribly hard, and just not that much water comes through this thing. I guess it only really runs hard when it's a torrential downpour, and then it can potentially, or it could potentially float that pipe. I don't think that pipe's going anywhere now. That area will grow up with scrub and you won't even know it's there in just a little while. And at some point, I do plan to put rocks on this downstream section so that if it ever does clog and wash over again, it doesn't take everything out. There's no rocks nearby here, so it's going to be a bit of a job to get them back here. So there you go, guys. I think this video has gotten long enough. That's a very common type of farm job to do, dealing with water drainage. I think that came out pretty good. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.